I am Jim Houston. I vocalize, I like to call it, because I don't really think of myself as a singer per se, and play guitar in the J. Houston Band. And I am also the songwriter for
I'm Carolyn. I play the bass and I sing a little bit.
What's your background? You're classically trained.
I am. I have my Bachelor of Musical Arts from Western. I played keyboard though, or piano. That was my major, playing piano. And now I'm playing bass.
What first got you into music?
I played piano since I was probably about 5 years old. And I loved it, and that's what I wanted to do. My first one was Mrs. Glenn Day and Mrs. Morton. I think those were my only two.
Oh.
I lived on Victoria Street, right downtown core. I think my parents insisted that my brother and I take piano lessons, and we did, and I guess I was good at it, and I don't know. Very nervous playing festivals and things, but I always wanted to do something with it, so I always wanted to play in a band.
Right on. Were you involved with the North Bay Kiwanis festivals at all?
I was, yes.
Yeah. Do you remember any specifically?
I remember winning a few trophies.
Oh, right on.
And then playing with my daughters. There used to be parent and child category, so then I did that. And then I conducted choirs as well.
Wow.
Carolyn and I first started, like, she wouldn't even approach a microphone. That was all new to her. She was, like I said, the classical musician, but it was a whole new genre.
Which is silly. I was a teacher. I was talked in front of people, kids all day. That's different.
The new album is, as you can see, it's called Milestone. Is a change from the last album we did. Was kind of self-indulgent in my part. It was about political issues that we were interested in. This time we thought that we would do something that was a little more organic and relates to the North Bay area. There are a number of North Bay musicians on the album. Peter Cliche being one. Peter Pelletier, who's now in Ottawa but was from North Bay. A few of the songs were, the lyrics were written by a former North Bayite, Jim McKay. Instead of a heavier sound, there's more use of violin, blues harp or harmonica, as depending on what you want to call it, and resonator guitar. I think it's something that is more people could relate to as far as the content itself. But the album has had pretty good success. There's one station called Chat and Spin in the UK. And there was another station we've received quite a bit of airplay for a song called 20 Cents. Andy John Bradford, yes, was the DJ, and it was Sunday Morning Blues, I think.
Sunday Morning Groove?
Groove, yes, that's what it was called, Sunday Morning Groove.
Prog rock channel, I think, from Northern Ireland.
Yes.
Cool.
So anyways, Carolyn has been keeping a record of the airplay and where it's been, and in her booklet. And so we've been kind of encouraged by that.
Locally, it's been sold where?
Record stores in town, Autumn Records on Main, in Calendar Bay Records, and also Waxman Records on Main Street. So we've had good support from the community. It was released just at the very end of December 2020, and because of it was just before the pandemic hit, so the pandemic has had an effect as far as getting out and actually promoting the album, even though you can do a certain amount online, but we missed doing a lot of the live performances that we would normally do, and a release party to try and promote the album. So,
maybe we can give it a sort of a secondary push.
Yes.
That would be appreciated.
We're going to call it the Better Late Than Never CD
Better
release
late
party,
than
or
never
album,
CD.
LP release party.
Yes.
Have you got a date that you want to do something like that, or is it?
Well, we had a date set up actually. We were going to do a release in town, and there again, I think for the second time everything was shut down. So we're still waiting to set up another tentative date for that.
Yeah, it's tough to plan anything.
Yeah.
It's hard because you plan and then
Yeah.
you
And
know,
half
it doesn't
capacity
happen.
still is kind of waiting for full capacity.
The opening track is called Big John. It was one of our favorites, and partially because it was written for a friend of ours that passed away a few years back, unfortunately. And he was quite a character, so I thought that he was a special friend, and to honor him, we wrote this song. He was a Stompin' Tom fan, and so it has a little bit of that, that heavy beat. So we thought, well, that would be a good. John McLennan.
Oh, okay.
And, he was a contractor in town.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually built our house. Of course, we have another track called the Shadfly Shuffle.
Right on.
And that was always a crowd favorite when we played. Well, we played that actually on the Chief Commander one year. We were up on the roof. It was during Shadfly season. And before the boat docked, we had to turn on some of our stage lights so that we could see what we were doing. And so as soon as we did that, then the Shadflies just came.
I had a friend who would kind of wipe me down between the songs. She would come up and de-shadfly me, and
Right on.
then we could carry on.
And so we wish that we could have had a video of that song, but unfortunately we weren't set up for that, but it would have been perfect because the next day we were still picking shadflies out of our guitar cases even,
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I played in a band, and I was aware of a band called Dirt Cheap, and there were local musicians like Arnie Reed, who has passed on now. Arnie Sumer, I think, played in that band. But they had this song called 20 Cents, and it's about a
made
guy
about
traveling and meeting up with a hooker, really. But there were a lot of references in that song to, in some of the verses we made up, because we couldn't remember all of the verses, to the local institutions such as the Parkview, which you can see here, and the Goodwill restaurant. But we didn't think it would get much airplay, but it's almost kind of turned out to be the hit song, where we've received a lot of airplay Great Britain area because we have a promoter there. So things kind of start there and kind of work their way out. Maybe they're more liberal in Europe than we are here, but I don't know whether it would be played on the radio here. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But it's not really a terrible song, but it's a little naughty in its references about procuring sex for. There was another song. The lyrics were penned by a friend of mine, Jim McKay, who lives out in Vancouver Island now, but he's from North Bay. And he used to be a journalist as well, actually. He worked for the Timmins Daily. He was good with words, and he liked working with words. And he just started sending me some songs, and he sent this. Well, I ended up using two of the songs that he sent me on the album. And one was called The Muse, and then people like it because it's got a big beat. Of course, it's about coming back to your stomping ground,
Back in the Bay?
Yes.
Back in the Bay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah,
Back
kind
in the
of.
Bay.
I initially thought, well, maybe we should call the album that. I wanted that to be the main focus of the album. But then we realized, no, Stomping Ground has just been used so many times, so we had to come up with another name.
So how did you settle on Milestone?
Well, actually, there again, it was the lyricist Jim McKay. He talks about Milestone in one of the songs, The Muse. He suggested, well, maybe that would be a good name.
For sure.
Everything on the album is local.
Yeah, right on. Right on.
And, of course, in the Milestone theme, we have various pictures of various stages of our musical career reflected on the back, like different groups that we played with over the years. So right off the bat, there's a picture of Big John here,
Yeah.
playing my guitar. This was a band that I played in when I was in my 30s. It's called the Jet Street Band. And also local people on here were Vern and Pierre Vancourt, Bob Shank, and Andre
Brunette.
Burnett, yes, it was Harrison at the time. This is Jim McKay here. He actually was, I don't know if you can see that, but he was the lyricist in some cases. Peter Pelletier's up here. Peter McGill, who started with us when we first started the J. Houston Band, probably about 16 years ago.
I really didn't have any photos.
John Chapman, who played with us.
The drummer.
And the drummer. Steve Marlowe, who had played with us prior, or just after Peter McGill. We do a distribution for downloads through CD Baby. And we initially did everything through CD Baby, and then but this album we had physical copies done with Train Records in Toronto, and we basically try to save the money that we make playing and to make the product and get it out there. So that's kind of our rule, you know. We use that money for that purpose. jhoustonband.net, and then we have a Facebook site, and we use that for Facebook more for promotion, you know, to try and get our stuff out there. The promoter actually that promotes our material overseas, he actually heard our music on Facebook, so Facebook has been good for us. We also have a Twitter account though. I mean,
Streaming services don't pay.
No.
yeah, you know, we don't make a
Portions
lot
of a
of
penny
money
per play.
What's the most, like aside from live events, where do you make the most money? Is it going to be the LP, or is it going to be the CD, or?
Well, we're hoping it would probably be on the LP, but of course CDs are still easier to sell because we can sell them for less.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we recognize that more people are getting into vinyl, and I've always liked vinyl myself, so I kind of wanted it for my own, you know, purposes.
And it's physical, it's tangible. It's in this day and age of everything's electronic. The milestone of the Parkview brings you back to a time when that was the case, right?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Parkview in your day.
I just remember going in there, and it was like, you know, your typical hole-in-the-wall kind of place, you know, where you had a terrazzo floor, and you had a single light bulb hanging from a wire in the ceiling, you know, and the service was basically, you know, like Spadina House, if you remember those days, where you sat down and you had your few glasses of draft. But the entertainment was always great, you know, and you always had that opportunity if you wanted to get up and jam, and saw, you know, great bands the day there, like Thunder Mug, you know, it comes to mind. Just remember having such a great time, so many people having such a great time there, and it was just kind of typical of that, what David Wilcox would have called a cheap beer joint on the wrong side of town, you know. It has that
Very smoky.
that kind of appeal, you know, where you could have a toke out back, you know,
Yeah.
with a bouncer named Jack, as Mr. Wilcox would have said. The Blue Spruce was another one of these places, you know, that you know, we've lost, and the Belmont, you know. So it's kind of a dying breed in a sense, something that a lot of people hold dear to their heart, I think, at least in my age group. Ben Liggett, who also did produced our last album, he did the engineering on this album, and it was done at his studio, which is in North Bay. But it's our second album working with Ben. The New World Order album prior to this album, he actually has a mobile studio, and he did it out at our place. Which was kind of cool. But yeah, Ben's a great guy, and we like working with him. And he seems to understand, you know, what we're going for as far as sound. We self-produced this album, but Ben did the engineering, and he also mastered the album. Ben is the taskmaster, yes. He, you know, we used to call him Play It Again Ben.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm not
like
sure
that.
if he knows that, but we did call him Play It Again.
Because he'd say, "Well, that was pretty good." He says, "Play it again, though. Play it again." You know, we tried to keep this album a little more what you'd call live off the floor. You know, like We used our own equipment, and we think it's probably fairly close to what we'd sound like live, you know, which is kind of one of the goals that we wanted with the album. But, lucky to find out that they were looking for entertainment as things are lifting up, and at the Lavigne Tavern. And we played there a few times before, and Guy Fortier is the proprietor, and he's an excellent guy to work for. We will be playing February 26th, I believe it is.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. You can rent a cabin right near the tavern, so that's sometimes fun too. If you get a group together and rent a cabin, and
I didn't know that option was there. Right on.
you can have a few refreshments.